I just realized one thing. I could get them with both. As soon as they start talking about spiritual stuff, I could be like, well, yeah, but have you guys ever read Agrippa? Then I got him.
Oh, that's interesting. I've been really into the ligma, what it's called, ligmology, I think is what it ligma.
Ligmology, all of these nuts.
Ligmology,
got him.
He's got him.
Man.
Got
Okay,
him. Stupid.
Got him.
Got him. Did you guys know that most of our early manuscripts of the Gospels actually come from Greek sources, and one of the guys was Aries.
Oh,
you ever heard of Aries? Aries nuts across your mouth.
Stupid idiot, moron.
Yeah, you stupid fucking
Stupid.
Yeah, really owns you in this hypothetical. Man, it's sick. I always come out on top in conversations in my head.
Okay, all right.
Let's
we
go.
Good? Can we start?
Please, I'm begging you. Can we go?
Let's go.
In the first aeon, I was the Great Spirit. In the second aeon, men knew me as the Horned God, Pangenitor, Panphage. In the third aeon, I was the Dark One, the Devil. In the fourth aeon, men knew me not, for I am the Hidden One. In the fifth aeon, I appeared before you as Baphomet, the god before all gods who shall endure to the end of the earth. In this new aeon, I appear to you as CMN.
Imagine that there is a brilliant white light just above.
Is commentary on the magic art.
In the years of the primal force and the dawn of terrestrial birth.
Oh, that was very educational.
Now magic will take place. Don't be fooled by what I just said.
Welcome, everyone. I am Simulacrum Matrix Kennedy, and this is Chaos Magic News, the official occult podcast of that guy you didn't talk to in high school, but he seems to be doing all right at least.
That's good. Sorry.
Joining me is my incredibly gangsta, but also incredibly Christian co-host, Trill Donahue. How you doing, Trill?
That's fucking gold.
Oh,
Dude.
Oh boy.
Trill Donahue, man. You know you love it. That could be a Bun B album. No,
man,
no
my
cap.
posse's big and it keeps getting bigger.
Oh gosh. Well, we're going to cut that off there. That other voice you hear saying, hey, that was a good joke. That's our wonderful Gary behind the glass. Everyone give a wave.
I'm with behind the glass, and I've got some peanuts, so I'm gonna be here and snacking and watching.
I love that we say Gary behind the glass, but honestly, you're almost just as involved in the show as we are as far as commentary now. So.
Well, I just don't have. I don't know. No,
I don't have a
no. I'm
filter.
behind the glass.
No. I'm not here. This is your guys' thing.
Don't put that on me, Ricky Bobby.
That's why we get sad when you're not around for episodes.
Oh, well. I hope it's going to be a good one today. What are we up to, folks?
Well, we got a interesting show this week. We got a lot of news to get to, and we have with Mercury Retrograde just passing. Let me redo that.
Communication issues. That sounds like a Mercury retrograde thing. Well, with Mercury retrograde wrapped up right around the time this episode's coming out, we thought we would have a little look at it as an astrological concept and see how it's gone from the classical to the more modern interpretations. As our opening discussion, we wanted to have a little back and forth about something that just seemed like a relevant topic with a lot that's been going on with us. The concept of prayer as magical acts, and specifically prayer as the means by which you are an intermediary between you and the deity.
Yeah, you and something. I think the way I wrote it down in my notes was prayer, meditation, and propitiation. I don't know if I'm saying that word right.
Propitiation. Now, could you give us a definition for that?
I cannot, because I'm not sure it's actually a word or not.
I think I made that shit up.
Say it one more time.
Propitiate?
Profiteration. It's like the Federation, but pros.
Just send it to the Google AI. And
you want me to look? Okay, what is profiteration?
No, I was making a crack about like Google AI, like just giving people incorrect information because it's not real.
Just making new shit up.
To propitiate is to win or regain the favor of a god, spirit, person by doing something that pleases them.
Oh,
I see.
Right. Anyway,
okay.
And the point I'm getting at is what the difference between the ideas of prayer, meditation, and propitiation. Interestingly enough, I feel like prayer in particular in occult circles now gets equated with meditation a lot. And I don't necessarily think that's how it's performed most of the time. The classic idea of prayer, of course, is to just talk, make request of,
petition.
Usually petition in earlier cultures, there was a lot of, specific prayers to gods, hymns to God, so on and so forth.
Well, even now in modern Catholicism, for example, you'll have the formal prayer. And then
there are still formal prayers.
What I'm saying is a lot of like the saint prayers and stuff like that. It'll be like Saint Ignatius, he's our guy. If he can't do it, then I won't try. But you say like, you'll say the big formal prayer. If you see the formal prayer written out, you'll see a little blank spot where it's like, and then you say like the specific petition that you have for him, or this is the silent personal part of the prayer, where you say the things that are on your mind rather than going with what the Christian sutra told you.
Right. And of course, there are still like just regular prayers. All the Abrahamic religions have the typical official cultural prayers. Growing up Catholic, I remember getting told a billion times, saying like, all right, go do 15 Hail Marys, 75 Our Fathers. So there's these prayers that
what did you do? Did you light 75? You must have like lit part of the cathedral on fire. Like you're really it's the Kennedy boy again. All right, look. Look, I know the Lord has to forgive, but do I?
As far as a magical practice, the problem with prayer typically is you have the idea that like you just ask a force that likes you for something.
And
I don't think and I don't think magicians are about that. I feel like magicians for the most part feel like prayer's too easy. Like prayer doesn't work because I don't have to put enough effort into it. I can't just get things by asking for them.
Peter Carroll, for example, he said something to the effect of visualization as a useful but ultimately one of the weakest forms of magic. And I would think prayer is almost in that. If we're talking the classical, like, oh God, will you please hook me up with those jeans I really want. You could make the argument that if done with the right focus and intent, that could do something, but it's a very tenuous link at best.
At best, it's sort of like improved upon by like The Secret or like the law of attraction type of things.
Exactly. So if we're going to say that it works at all, it's very weak. But then you augment it with something that magicians are very, very keen to do. Most magicians don't pray, but they'll definitely call forth the god or the angel or the demon, and then say, shit, I really, sometimes they'll be like, well, here's the sigil I made of the intent. So I just say, hey, make that happen.
Well, it's definitely that idea of like, well, what is a ritual if not a thing to say and do,
right? Like
or bowing your head to the east or something.
Yeah. But example, back to the formal prayers, right? Yeah. Where it's if you're petitioning the saints, I mean, that is essentially an invocation. You're calling up a specific.
It's an evocation.
I thought wait. Invoke as in it's going in. Evoke is when you're. I'm sorry. I think everyone gets those mixed up.
Not everyone, just you.
I'm built
because you're a failure.
Just you, because you're fake magic. Hand in your card.
No, but what I was going to say is it's interesting because I feel like that is sort of where the line of prayer and meditation cross. When you start doing prayer as an invocation, and particularly like Christians, again, are like some people that we can use the modern example of that, the people that are just praying because they're trying to get closer to God. And usually it's probably got some selfishness to it where it's like, I'm a shitty husband and I've been fucking up for a really long time, but Jesus, can you just come into my heart and make me a better person?
What a dick.
Come into my heart?
What kind of, I get it. Okay. There's a lot of bad Christians, but like, that's there's no reason to single out Christians as being that shit. Like I'm sure any other faith you could find versions of that. It's just there's a lot of
this person didn't cheat on their wife because they're a Christian. They cheated on their wife because they have substance abuse problems. They're a Christian because they have substance abuse problems.
I just the idea of like, look, yeah, we can if you want to do like dog out Christianity hour, I get it, but it's mostly just like
no. I was the one who made that. I made the snarky comment about how banging on Christianity in the modern age is really ineffective. I'm not. I wasn't doing it for that purpose. I'm just pointing out that I feel like most people, again, the idea of prayer for most people outside the magic circle tends to be a lot more self-centered, and people tend to pray when they need shit. You know, the no atheist in a foxhole kind
magicians literally do magic to get what they want. So how's it any different? At least it's an honest selfish where it's like, yeah, this is about me getting what I want.
And I guess, and it bends into the particular area of chaos magic that I was talking to someone else in the Discord about, and it made me realize that, oh, that's something I haven't considered for a while. A lot of chaotes have no interest in the concept of divinity or the sacred or big spooky metaphysical so-and-sos that are big guys that can do stuff for you.
Yeah, and that was part of why I thought this conversation was worth having, because as far as the chaos magic approach, divinity, gods, demons, angels, and the whole metaphysical shebang, the concept of a soul. I think chaos magic at its core, as laid out in Liber Null, even goes against that, because it's the abandoning notions of a fixed human identity and stuff like that. The only use of a god as in the chaos magic thing would be like, does throwing adoration at the feet of this god, or just somehow assuming the power of this god, and God is really just a shorthand for a symbolic representation of some sort of human extremity, something just
an imagined or an idealized entity, right? Just a thing.
Does that symbol, does that idea get you to where you need to be to get the said result? Now, at the same time, I think often what you will find is magic as a magic that focuses on the mental emotional states of a person, right? Sort of digging through your psychology. Often divinity and gods will come out and play, as it were. Not so much when if you're just doing magic to get big tibby goth girlfriend, then maybe not so much. You can fire off a sigil, you can make a servitor.
I want to push back a little bit on that, right? Because I think, how do I want to say this? There's like people don't like dealing with the gods as if they actually exist outside of you, in a way, if that makes sense. It's not a good philosophical way of presenting it, but in the sense of people feel a lot more comfortable when you tell them that they have like the Peter Carroll psychocosm of gods, right?
Or you Jungian can look at archetypes.
Right, yeah.
Even that in and of itself, and I agree with you, people like to think about gods as like, no, this god is a reflection of something going on in me, or
at least like I'm a reflection of a greater connected
or this is
thing.
this is a caricature of some facet of my personality. But they don't like to think about gods, and that's the thing, is that even the archetypes themselves. Robert Anton Wilson said it so great. I'm name dropping this episode, but he was talking about archetypes as in archetypes are interesting because they're inside. You acknowledge that they're inside you, but then there's the idea that they're inside of every other person. So they're both internal and external simultaneously. They're intersubjective or something. Yeah, like that. Transpersonal, and that in that regard, even if you think of the idea of Jesus Christ as an archetype of the dying and risen God or something like that, then you have to contend with that is an archetype that is playing out throughout humanity, throughout the planet. That's the dodgy territory. It's like, it's very easy for me to look at Horus as the strength, force, and vigor of my arms, as the good book says. But then I don't think about I think my personal arms. But then I have to contend with the fact that
these fucking sick pythons.
My 32
Are we near a veterinary clinic? Because my dogs are barking and sick, and I'm fucking heavy lifting. Get 'em.
Yeah. But then when you're contending with somebody else, you have to remember it's like, shit, it's his arms too, huh?
Oh, right, yeah.
Horus is the manifest, Horus is that face of the eternal warfare that we have to contend with through existence. And that's just an example, but you know what I'm talking about. Like, you get where I'm driving at.
To exist is to define conflict, to like fight the idea of non-existing.
Hey, he's getting it.
Sure, yeah. But that's
Yeah.
and that's one quick encapsulation of a specific god that I think a lot of people would be familiar with, because Horus, Thelema, that sort of thing.
No more Thelema. We're done with it.
But that's everywhere. That's that's any idealized, symbolic, whatever, because the archetype is not the archetypal image, and we're getting very Jungian here. But then you go even a step crazier, where you start like, what if you have to start contending with these beings as like, no, these are sort of omnipresent spiritual realities.
Well, yeah, like when you have to start contending with the idea of them having like identity.
Yeah.
Or them having like an sense of individuality.
Ganesh is a real cool guy.
Yeah.
And he's got opinions about you.
Well, yeah, right? And it's a lot simpler, I think, for most people. Most people are very comfortable doing that with like Goetia, like demons and stuff like that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Because, and I think it's like an unconscious prejudice being like, well, you know, they're like spirits, or like when you have an animist kind of viewpoint of the world, you can get down with that. Even probably Shinto probably has a little bit more of it in that kind of sense. The ability of like gods that can exist out in the world and do things, but you don't have to be like you don't have to have the fear and trembling of like the Christian God, or the mystic awe of, say, like a Krishna. But even when you have those aspects of it, it's very hard for people to try to contend with this idea of God, big metaphysical bugaboo that can do anything it wants, and I'm asking it for shit. And it usually makes people retract backwards and start checking their own ego and stuff. It takes a very special kind of person to be able to take that idea and be like, you know what? Zeus is a dude who lives on a mountain, and if I ask him for stuff the right way, I will get it.
There's a guy out there. He's got a lot of answers for me. All I need to do is just be cool with him, man. That's all I got to do. Maybe like befriend one of his kids.
Maybe look sultrily at that swan over there, just in case.
I think part of it is the notion of a lot of us, at least in the West, growing up with capital G God, where he was the end all be all. And it was very hard, and at least in some instances, it's very hard to get a real personality for this guy. Jesus has a bit more of a personality. An Old Testament God kind of has a lot more of like a wants and what I want, because he'll just grab a guy and say, hey, let me talk to you for a second.
Hey, let me ring your ear.
Old Testament God is still too much like a force of nature, right? Like you try to get an idea of a personality, and the only thing you can get is just like, whoa, get out of his fucking way.
It's like, whoa, this guy is heavy.
This guy is heavy every time he shows up.
But that's also, I think, why so many young little magicians to be are people who find mythology so enticing. Thor has a personality you can wrap your head around.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Odin has a personality of being a trickster and being a wise man, and also being a warrior and this sort of thing like that. Like, you can get those aspects. They're not quite blow me down.
Right. And then again, in Hinduism, you can read the Ramayana and understand things about both the individual identity of the incarnations of Vishnu, but also the
grand
Krishna.
one.
You also get archetypes when it comes to gods like that. But you get
absolutely.
You get those defining factors of
But I think maybe that is part of the hurdle when we conceive of gods. Sometimes you can go, you almost worry to put qualities on them because they're so sublime or something like that. But I think, circling back to like practical application, I think that gods are most effective when you can trying to think of a good way to describe it, where you have a structure or a definition that you can work with, and you give them just enough room. You have a cup, I guess, but the cup is open. So like if something flows out, if things go over the top, that's one thing, but you at least have a structure to try to get a hold of stuff. That metaphor probably doesn't make any goddamn sense.
No.
But when you try
I smell what you're smelling.
Chaos itself is that sort of thing, where chaos, by its definition, encompasses everything, And you can't lay anything on chaos without diminishing it. You can't put any quality on it without taking away.
Right. We're talking about like the transcendental aspects of these sorts of things, which I think as far as the practical applications of them are a lot less important. I think what is important is being able to, again, like you said, give a space for this entity to show up in what you're doing and how you're dealing with it, even if it's like, again, even if it's something of like, well, I cannot possibly conceive of the uncreated Brahman, but I kind of know what a Rama is like. I can put a Rama thing up.
Or I can put a monkey head on it. I can always put a monkey head on it, you know? now it's
I got a monkey's paw. Is that all right? Or
boy, don't get it twisted.
Don't get it twisted, babe.
Right.
But and as far as
I suppose in that regard, right? If we are talking about those large sort of transcendental, transpersonal, you know, the great big ineffable, that is where things like meditation come in. That's when the prayers that are in that regard to that try to seeking union with that thing, that might be regarded as like where meditation and prayer can link.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And then in the more like St. John of the Cross kind of Meister Eckhart type religious meditation stuff, that goes there. And like I said, that's what I think the problem is. Like when people talk about prayer and occultism, they're oftentimes a lot more focused on that area of it than they are just, hey, God, I would really like a ham sandwich. The issue with it, again, for me, turns into that I feel like prayer is an insufficient area of, I don't know, involvement, gnosis. It's a lot harder to just sit there and pray for hours and hours on end for, I would like a bike. But what's really good is that you can have these specific rituals to please gods. You know, you offer them things that they like, and you can even get beyond the whole like, well, you know, I know Ganesha is the ultimate uncreated Brahman. I know he's the foundation of all of the universe. He's the Om sign. I know that I can't really give him Modoc because he has everything. I'm giving him to himself. But you can wash your hands all and say, I was told that if I give Modoc to Ganesha and I say the Om Gam Ganapate like 108 times, I'll get the thing that I want. And all I really want is to pass my math test. That works for people. I feel like those sorts of practices in a magical context are really great. You should get down with them more because it's one of those simpler things that you can be doing constantly. Have a little altar with with whatever entity you've been working with or whatever you feel appropriate to work with, or just pick one. Just pick one because all of them kind of work. You know, think a little bit on it. Don't pick like Mars if you're trying to get your blood pressure down.
I just think about blood and war and terror.
I don't know, that battle calm. Or you want to get your blood pressure under control. Martial, that's martial energy is good for getting your ass exercise.
Yeah, now you're working out. You know what?
Now
That's
you're
funny.
Working out.
Now you're cooking with gas.
I brought that up to Cios. Shout out Cios in the Discord because we were talking about what Loa was good for getting money. And I brought up the fact that, like, well, you know what? The dirty secret of working with any sort of god, entity, spirit is as long as you can phrase what you want in the right light, it works. It's like asking for a government grant. It's more about how you present it. Because you can turn anything into it might be a little weird where Aries is like, look, man, I just don't really think that, you struggling to find parking on a Saturday afternoon is actually a battle. Come on, Aries, this is a struggle. I put on war paint and everything.
It's hell out here.
Because you're going to the Knicks game.
And then we in the a couple episodes back when we were talking about Chaturthi, Ganesha is an example of like the Swiss Army god, where it's like he's perfect for everything because any issue you have is an obstacle. And who gets rid of obstacles? Vigneshwara, Lord of Obstacles. There he is. Om Ganapate.
In the title.
Yep. There's always wiggle room with those sort of things. And then there is very abstract notions. I mean, you can pray to yourself. I remember, let me name drop one more time. Babaji Bob Kindler, man, where he talked about, it's like, you'll stop praying. You'll stop looking up when you pray. You'll pray. Maybe you won't pray at all, or at the very least, you'll pray to yourself, And I was like, yeah, that's neat.
Here, I'll name drop then. Sem Rinpoche said a similar thing where he was talking about the purpose of tantric practice and sadhana. He's like, the idea of identifying yourself with the yidam and making offerings to it and to the guru, because you're making offerings to yourself.
Absolutely. That's where a lot of Eastern practices perhaps link up with the Western tradition of occultism, where, again, like you said, we're not always so keen on knocking on a god's door and asking them if they want to buy some Girl Scout cookies, but we can definitely put the god's clothes on and try to be, try to be Balder for a minute if you need it. If you need that kind of energy. To use the voodoo thing too, where it's like, again, we're talking close practices, but it has the concept of being ridden by the Loa, letting the spirit just run over you and do what it needs to do as an act of veneration, as an act of worship, working with it. That's sort of quid pro quo of it, but also like letting them come upon you, possess you to do what you need done. So those are concepts that I think a lot of occultists are far more comfortable with when it comes to gods. And, the other thing we didn't touch on, though, as far as meditation, right? There's like a billion different forms of meditation, too. So
right,
like,
of course.
Those aren't even, we've picked apart the different types of prayer a little bit, but then it's like, how does it link up with meditation? What kind of meditation?
Right.
I think ultimately prayer with the right mindset and the right sort of augmentation can totally be useful, and it can kind of get a bad rap. You feel like you're asking rather than like taking it in your hands. But the tradition of a lot of white magic, as it were, was already openly knowing that the magician was wise. He wasn't powerful. The power belonged to divinity. And I think in a strange way, right? That's chaos magic. We always go like, oh, I'm get good at these techniques, and it's like I can do all this stuff. But if you go with the notions of gnosis, right, you're already acknowledging that the conscious ego structure that you think of as you from moment to moment has no magical ability. All of the shit, your magical practice as a chaos magician in the classical Peter Carroll sense of it is doing shit to get your conscious mind out of the way so that your Kia, the force behind you, the thing beneath the mask, can do the actual magic. And what's that sound like? God acts through me. I don't do anything. I can't give anyone a blessing at all. But God can give you a blessing through me.
Yeah.
I can't do any magic. But this thing behind the mirror,
that's pretty magical.
Can do all sorts of stuff.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm down with that. I think that's a good place to end that one.
Dude, these guys are like Christians. They talk about Catholicism and Jesus and shit.
Wait a minute.
These are fucking fake magicians, man.
These guys have been Christ the entire time.
So fucking Christ cucks.
These guys have been fucking psyop. This has been a psyop from the beginning. This is fucking bullshit.
Ooh.
I thought they were going to be Scientologists.
They keep bringing it up like all the time.
Later.
Much later.
Now you also need to remember that as part of the big tent of the holy lineage of Minnesota OTO voodoo, all of the Christian stuff we're talking about is actually a covert syncretism to hide the true spirit behind it all.
Is it the spirit of Christmas?
That shit. They don't have the grade papers for that yet.
Oh, fuck.
Next section.
You guys hear that? Listen.
What do you hear?
Sounds like a
bitch in here.
No,
I don't know. Oh, like are you talking about like a vibrator?
Trill, listen to it. Do you hear it?
Wait. Hold on. Sounds like
I don't hear anything.
What's in the news?
Wow.
I think we got it.
What's in the news?
Wow.
All right, we are going to jump feet first in this because we got a lot to get through. But guys, it's honestly some stories.
Well, how would you jump?
I do it on my hands because I'm better than you.
Because I'm fucking hench. I got these 32-inch pythons.
What do we got?
I think the first story we're going to talk about is something that you've probably already heard now, but man, it's a fucking doozy. Donald Trump is on trial. And I know you're thinking, yeah, he's been on trial, but this is a different one. This is actually the big boy criminal investigation. This is some dicey shit. But perhaps more shockingly, a man set himself on fire at a Collect Pond Park outside of the courthouse. This happened last Friday around 1:30 p.m. This just in today, and it is April the 20th. The man, who I wasn't even aware had survived, he has actually succumbed to his injuries.
Dang.
Now, I know Kennedy had done a little bit more reading on this than I do. What happened was that this man was out there giving a rant, throwing out pamphlets about conspiratorial stuff, then covered himself in accelerant and lit himself ablaze.
He had posted a manifesto to his Substack before this. The title of it is, "I have set myself on fire outside the Trump trial."
Wow.
In a scant few months, self-immolation is just
up 200%.
Yeah, it's just becoming a thing, I guess. Now, I'll say this on the last time we were talking about the man who lit himself on fire outside of the White House. I don't think that this is an effective means to do whatever, to protest whatever you're protesting. It does certainly show a great conviction. In the case of the first one, it was a protest against the ongoing genocide in Palestine. And this one was much more unhinged, I suppose.
That's the nice way of putting it.
I just hate to say it like that. I don't want. The last time we were talking about, oh, well, this guy said things that I kind of sort of agree with. We can't just go, oh, he was mentally unwell, but he did still light himself on fire. So that's not a great move. We gave them a lot of shit saying, oh, well, they just want to say you're crazy. But this man seemed very.
I don't know if I would call him crazy, but he has crazy ideas.
Well,
that's the difference, I guess. Like, I don't know if he's mentally unwell any more than anyone else who would light themselves on fire, I suppose. But his beliefs are wacky and out there. And correction, they're not even wacky and out there by the standards of the online riffraff of conspiratorial and outsider thinking. I'll put it like that. I'll give you the highlights. I'm not going to go through this whole thing because you have all either read it if you're interested, or you're not going to read it. So this is what you need to hear. We are victims of a totalitarian con, and our own government, along with many of their allies, is about to hit us with an apocalyptic fascist world coup. Last March, a billionaire named Peter Thiel started a bank run on Silicon Valley Bank. I knew enough about Thiel that I found this incredibly suspicious. My hunch was that this was intentional, though I couldn't fathom why. I began investigating online and quickly found cryptocurrency's fingerprints all over it. The bank run occurred just days after Silvergate Bank, which catered almost exclusively to crypto companies, collapsed. Meanwhile, several crypto cheerleaders were all over financial media warning of a regional banking crisis, and nobody in media was addressing the clear crypto connections. And he basically goes on to explain that the entirety of cryptocurrency is a Ponzi scheme that has been set up by Peter Thiel and the government to create what he calls a economic doomsday device. He then goes on to talk about Bill Clinton being involved with George W.H. Bush, sorts of things like that. Let's see, what was the line I saw? Bill Clinton was secretly on former CIA director George H.W. Bush's side, and that the Democrat versus Republican division has been entirely manufactured. Clinton is with Bush, Gore is with Bush, Trump is with Hillary, and so on. When they present themselves in public, they are acting as characters that are against one another, practicing K-fob as wrestlers do. It turns out we have a secret kleptocracy. Yeah.
I mean, what this says in a certain regard is that the sort of political divides that exist are largely manufactured for the purposes of obfuscating that all of these people are in one big club and you ain't in it. Now, what you're describing isn't nearly as conspiratorial when you simply put it in the lens of all of our politicians, by and large, serve the wants and behests of the capitalist class, and in many regards are the capitalist class. The material analysis and think Das Kapital, the Marxist lens, it outlines this sort of stuff very easily.
Yeah, and it shows you that it doesn't require conspiratorial thinking like this. Like, this is not.
They don't need to necessarily get in back rooms with each other for this to happen. Now, the idea that cryptocurrency is being used to, I think, the idea that they were going to destroy world economies, and you can watch stuff like that happen already, where there's economic collapses that put more money and resources in the hands of fewer and fewer people. And if crypto is a tool to do that, I wouldn't be shocked, but I don't necessarily think that it was a conspiracy to do, like, they didn't start pushing Dogecoin because that was the end goal. I think they just saw the writing on the wall, and they know how to take advantage of situations like this.
Yeah, but it gets so much worse than that. Why is Stanley Kubrick's comedy about mutually assured destruction called Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb? Because he was a cocky secret fascist who was getting us to stop worrying and love the bomb. Why did he make A Clockwork Orange? So we'd rejoice at ultraviolence designed to desensitize us to... Hang on, guys. I have to get my cat.
Nah, he said ultraviolence. I don't believe anything this man says now. This is a Kubrick fan, and that's cool and all, but...
Why do you make a movie called The Shining? Because I
rub got a little bit of shining in him.
On my balls, and they glisten.
Hell yeah, brother.
Okay, can we keep going? Why did he make A Clockwork Orange? So we'd rejoice at ultraviolence designed to desensitize us to the horrors of the world. Why were the Manson family murders crawling with cover-ups and intelligence agents? Because our government wanted to make us fear for our lives and believe that hippies are deranged psychopaths. Why did Walt Disney produce a fraudulent documentary that told us lemmings follow each other off cliffs? So we'd believe it. Why did the Beatles tell us to fear the taxman, to scoff at revolution, chase nonsense conspiracy theories, and that happiness is a warm gun? So we would believe it.
Wait.
This is a meta manifesto.
This is a manifesto.
Bro, look. Stanley Kubrick. Why did he make a movie called The Shining? Because he rubbed himself down with canola oil and go to the beach. Why the apple fall on Newton's head? I don't know.
Why the apple? I don't know.
I don't know.
Hi, I'm Johnny Francis.
Oh my God.
Let me finish reading to you the manifesto, because this is a smart guy. This is a smart guy. He's figured it out. Why did Do the Right Thing tell us we were all racially tribalized? So we would believe it. Why did Simpsons creator Matt Groening make a comic strip called Life in Hell? So we would believe it. And on and on and on. When it comes to any popular media, if you ask yourself the question, why would secret doomsday cult kleptocrats want the public to consume this? You will find the answers.
Oh.
All right, Johnny, that's all you're getting for this. I'm getting my union dues. Yeah, you're paying your
Johnny,
union
put
dues.
down the accelerant. Johnny, no.
But yeah, like, and I was talking to Johnny in the freaking, not Johnny. I was talking to a different Johnny about how the longer it goes on, the more it starts to strike me as like, I was sitting here going like, was this a parody? Like, is this not really him? Like, because the Beatles and the Chinatown stuff and the Do the Right Thing stuff is just like, that is way too on the nose. He's got to be pulling my leg a little bit.
I don't know. It just feels like he's picking, like, he said top conspiracy theories. Give me a Google AI love machine.
People
tell me the currents, please.
Counterpoint, like, the thing about delusions is that we're really good at picking out other people's delusions,
right,
and not our own. You can see everyone else's blind spot. That's the nature of blind spots.
Hindsight's 2020, baby.
This is definitely one of those things where he wanted as many eyes on this as possible, unless this is an op to discredit self-immolation.
Huh.
Because a guy did it at the White House. This is all a ploy.
It's, what is interesting about it is that you would think we're so used to seeing in like the last like 8 years, one-sided conspiracy nuts doing things, as opposed to this kind of older classic, Bill Cooper type conspiracy guy where he's just like, it's all,
all in.
It's all, yeah, it's all conspiracy way up top. I mean, to be honest, also, I mean, I don't remember seeing anything that was outright like, oh, and it's the Jews, but you got everything else in here.
I also haven't really thoroughly looked through all his stuff, so, I don't know.
I read it twice, and I didn't get through the entirety of it either time because so much of it is just like, listen to this. Climate change will kill us all. COVID will kill us all. Vaccines will kill us all. AI will kill us all. No matter the bubbles we ascribe to, we're bombarded with the existential crises with no solution. It's like that.
That's just mania. That's just a really bad day. That's awful.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of it's almost a shame because we are a society of spectacle, and the only thing that this man could think to do to try to wake people up to what matters is more spectacle. Yeah.
It's a real shame they went immediately to fire, though. Like, there is other avenues.
Like what?
Like there's a lot of enticing avenues for spectacle these days. Like you don't have to go.
Yeah, right. Like you could have been a Twitch streamer.
Yeah, or like I don't know, do something outrageous. Yeah, go on make a live stream and do something.
You could have been a performance artist.
One Trisha Paytas collab, just one Trisha Paytas collab, and you would have had eyes all on.
Just need to get SS Sniper Wolf to react.
If you want Andy Warhol's 5 minutes of fame, you can make it happen if you really, really want it. But it's at the cost of what you are after that, right?
The cost of people looking at what you thought was so important that you lit yourself on fire and laughing at you about it. Like, I don't mean to like laugh at this man because he's clear he's gone, he's fucked. But you know,
Simpsons
like I mean,
told me that Simpsons they had 9 and it was next to the Twin Towers, so it looked like an 11.
You're gonna go Simpsons did it, and then.
Simpsons did,
and then kerosene it up, like
yeah. I feel bad, although I was saying it as a joke, but now it's like I think this is just like to discredit immolation.
Yeah,
it's to make people forget
that's the real story.
It's to take everyone's attention away from the other guy that lit himself on fire by using like a dumber, crazier, easily discredited one.
Right,
so
so you don't go like, oh yeah, this guy was having a crisis over the genocide of a whole people, and like, no, forget it. We'll make it about the bankers and Trump because everyone hates him already.
All right, moving on. Vietnam tycoon sentenced to death. In $12 billion fraud case.
Whoa.
Yeah, I saw that.
Capitalism
it was like the biggest
wins again.
Yeah.
Dang.
It's like the biggest fraud in Vietnamese history.
That's fucking awesome.
A Vietnamese real estate tycoon was sentenced to death in the biggest ever financial fraud case, a shocking development of an intensifying anti-corporation drive in the Southeast Asian nation. Trung My Lan, a high-profile businesswoman who chaired a sprawling company that developed luxury apartments, hotels, offices, and shopping malls, was arrested in 2022. The 67-year-old was convicted on fraud amounting to $12.5 billion, nearly 3% of the country's 2022 GDP.
Can you imagine owning 3% of a country's GDP?
Not even owning it, having stolen it.
Like, yeah, oh my God. What could you do with that much money? That's an empire. You could run an empire.
Billion.
Yeah, that's a small little like empire. Like you now own part of that country.
She's accused of using Vietnam's central bank as her cash cow, illegally controlling it between 2012 and 2022, using thousands of ghost companies in Vietnam and abroad to give loans to herself and her allies.
It's dope as fuck.
So
maybe no, I shouldn't promote that, but like that's still like.
It's good magic.
It's crazy as hell, man. That is insane.
What she did, not condoning what she did. I mean, there's a wizardry that is understanding how a system operates that is largely unseen and even more largely not understood by the average Joe.
The ability to go and wake up one day and will that to exist is unfathomable because you're not just your skill set has nothing to do with why you're successful. It's the other way around in this. It's like you found out something and figured out a system that nobody knows, right?
You know the rules for a system that most people just don't get, and you can magic up companies,
and you have the connections,
and then give money away. Yeah. It's kind of nuts when you think about it.
She was found guilty of having bribed officials to persuade the authorities to look away, including paying $5.2 million to a senior central bank inspector who was sentenced to life in prison. Vietnam's graft crackdown, dubbed Blazing Furnace, has seen hundreds of senior state officials and high-profile business executives prosecuted or forced to step down. Corruption is so widespread that in some provinces, many people say they pay bribes just to obtain medical services in public hospitals, according to a recent survey by the United Nations Development Program and other organizations.
When you think about the amount of human suffering that things like this inflict, 3% of the entire economy being wielded by this woman.
It's crazy.
It's nuts. And
I can't comprehend it. I don't know.
Oh
how that would
God!
operate.
Listen to this.
It's crazy.
I'm going to mispronounce her name, so I apologize. But Trugong Bang Lane's continued control through more than 24 middlemen and 93% of loans going to her company and associated shell companies. 93% of loans.
Holy shit!
Now. So
that's awesome. She just said, "This is mine now. I'm the captain."
I think that's just central bank, using essentially the government's money, that, or not the government, but you know what I mean. Like,
I have no idea that show.
Oh no, from the Saigon Joint Stock Commercial Bank.
Okay, so
which was it was from the merger of 3 banks facing bankruptcy, and it was like
got it. Okay. At the end of the day, stuff like this hurts the common man on one level or another.
And has
even
been.
if it's by the simple process of people who can wield this amount of money and influence completely unchecked, shit inevitably will roll downhill. But even think of examples of these kind of defrauding scams that are much more direct, Ponzi scheme type shit, Bernie Madoff. Imagine if somebody knew hey man, if I get caught, they can just kill me.
Yep.
It's I don't get to sit in a white collar prison for, the rest of my life or whatever.
Hey, did you know another whistleblower from Boeing got mysteriously self-inflicted?
You're kidding.
That doesn't.
Isn't that crazy?
Man, I don't even want to sidetrack. I feel like we're going to get sidetracked if I start talking about that. But the point is that there's a part of me, and as basically as against
capital punishment.
No, well, not just capital punishment. But what's the word for feeling like you have to punish someone and make them pay for their crimes rather than trying to rehabilitate, that sort of thing. Repudiary? Or what?
We're making up words today, so let's go.
Serendipitalism.
Yeah. Ultimately, I'm against that. I don't think that's the way to approach it. But there is part of me that goes maybe if you thought that was an option, and the joke that people talk about, it's like the internet made people really comfortable to say whatever the hell they want because they know nobody can punch them in the mouth.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like, man, if a lot of these wealthy wielders of this sort of financial clout, white collar scumbag people,
if they thought they were going to die,
if they thought that was an option, how many more of them would not do it?
Yeah.
This isn't like murder where crime of passion will take over. Sometimes somebody kills another person and they were not.
You had to fill out some forms to do this.
Yeah, you had plenty of time, and then did this for 10 years. Of course, she will appeal the verdict.
I don't know. Can they do that? And I don't know what the Vietnamese legal
system
is like.
That was one of Land's lawyers. Of course, she will appeal the verdict, noting that she was sentenced to death for the embezzlement charge and to 20 years each for the other 2 charges of bribery and violations of banking regulations. But
Vietnam's a democracy, isn't it? Or is it a republic?
What?
No, what? Democracy, like they all get together in the Senate and vote?
Hey, what kind of government?
All the landowners,
it's the Socialist Republic of Vietnam.
Socialism. Okay, that's what I didn't know.
I don't know how I feel about this, but on one hand, it's like actions like this are unheard of in America. You're never gonna see. You'll hear somebody talking about how they always want to crack down on the crime in the New York subways, but they'll never say we need to. They'll never ever make a real genuine concerted effort to stop shit like this.
No,
and they damn sure aren't going to threaten to kill anybody.
They'll get rid of your Sam Bankman-Frieds, and then Peter Thiel will do a bank run on you.
Well, that's because that's new blood. You don't want new blood with old blood. Old guard is still
old money. Old money hates new money.
Yuri Berliner, who was a senior editor, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
At NPR, released a editorial. I've been at NPR for 25 years. Here's how we lost America's trust. Basically, pointed out that they went woke. He said things to the effect of, when we started telling people what to think instead of just what the facts are, that sort of thing. That's a hard one to pin down, because I feel like almost like increasingly we live in a world where it's impossible to tell the facts of a situation without some sort of bias. Even by nature, the facts that you report on will show some sort of bias. But you pointed out an interesting statistic of people self-reporting on do you identify as left-wing? Do you identify as liberal, sort of thing?
And NPR's, he used that in the article.
Okay. by their own admission, that those percentages have jumped up over the years. A lot more people are now consider themselves left-leaning, liberal, whatever, than 10 years ago. I think that it speaks not that NPR doesn't have biases. Don't get me wrong. That's like they say some weird left-leaning stuff.
I mean,
but not even
clearly
not genuine left-leaning. I mean, more liberal, left-leaning in the idea of like anything that isn't Fox News conservative.
NPR is a progressive liberal media outlet. That's just what it is. That's where they have directed their effort in putting in stories. It is what they've decided is going to be what sells. Mr. Berliner disagreed with that. What this really is that he's like an old lib that doesn't like that they've gone really woke, and he doesn't like the fact that politics have become even more and more polarized. That's kind of what I've come to at this conclusion.
Ultimately, we're just really polarized now. There's less and less middle ground with people because we're getting to breaking points. What's the joke of like, meet me in the middle, says the unjust man?
Well, and the other side of it, as far as news reporting, what media outlet hasn't in the last 10 years leaned more into whatever its particular bent was? Fox News is dramatically more, right-leaning, and so is all the left-wing media. And then we have new right-wing media like Newsmax and stuff like that.
Yep.
We shouldn't be freaked out by this idea. What all this is that a guy, he told the truth about NPR to a point. Like he's completely right that they decided at some point, along with the rest of left-leaning media, that they wanted to actively try to work against Donald Trump. That's not crazy. The media has turned on presidents before. That's not fucking new.
Well, it's just the shame is that not everyone can be like CNN, say all the objective facts of situations without any bias.
Yeah.
And tell you exactly what you should think about something.
Right,
you know?
Also known as the absolute truth and the whole truth.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, like
holy decree from the high pontiff.
Right.
Yeah.
And
it's
for $10,
just like
it can be even more true.
Yeah, it can be. If you give us $5 for the Patreon, it'll be doubly true.
Yeah.
It's not everyone can be like that. You know,
not everyone.
Some people
like
have
us,
to.
But
some people have to be conniving and manipulate things and try to obfuscate what their real intentions are, and that's fine. That works for some people. I don't know how they live with themselves or look themselves in the mirror, but that's the way news is, because you got to sell. You got to sell.
You got to
and
sell.
Even if you're not
Johnny.
directly selling ads or something like that, you have to do things to make yourself palatable to the people that are giving you endowments, people that are donating, people that
there's the other side of that thing too, right?
Else.
Where we look at the NPR problem being that they're losing money overall, like advertising dollars are down. So part of this might have been motivated by this guy going like, man, I'm a 70-year-old man. I'm in the NPR editors union and stuff. And I'm seeing that I want to make sure that I still have a pension in 10 more years.
Yeah.
Someone else told me that they're fairly confident that his plan was to leave the entire time, which I'm sure he was. But he's also, again, almost a 70-year-old man, so he's probably.
We also we haven't gotten to part 2. He put this out. They suspended him for 5 days, and then he resigned.
Right. Yeah.
So
and they suspended him
like,
for breaking contract. Essentially, you have to get permission as an NPR journalist that if you're going to talk to outside sources. And I'm sure he knew that was going to happen, because when it did happen, he said that he had no interest in fighting it or taking it up with the union. Obviously, he was just going to leave.
This was an exit strategy.
Right.
Yeah.
This might as well have been hit. And you said he was like 70 or something like that. He's like, this might as well have been
or something.
Might as well have been his retirement,
Yeah, and if not, he's going to go. Someone said that he's probably going to go be like the token liberal on a right-wing media thing. I don't necessarily think that's the only thing he could do, but he probably is going to go somewhere where he can have the rational liberal take, aka, the boomer lib take.
Yeah. It is interesting watching these larger, because it's like, this is a good one to point out, but you'll notice like this shit is the Tucker Carlson fiasco from last year?
Yeah, some point last
Time
year.
flies. But the point is like, no one trusts. It's not just NPR that has lost America's trust. Every major news outlet is losing trust of everything.
Well, That was the other funny thing he said, where they talked about how they were one of the more trusted news sources and they were really proud of it. And it was like 3 out of 10 people think NPR is trustworthy, which was higher than other news outlets. But like, that's deplorable.
Yeah, there you go. It's people don't trust these. We only seem to look at them at best, they can give you the broad strokes of what's going on, and you try to not take in as much of their poison as you can, I suppose. My beloved said something to the effect of like something she had read where it was like, you know, a lot of countries, you know, if you were to go over to North Korea, they're all like, nah, everybody listens to the news and you don't believe any of it. It's just, you know, America's fucked up because we're still listening to news thinking it isn't propaganda.
Yeah, thinking that one of these talking heads is correct.
Oh, yeah.
One of them has my best interest at heart.
Yeah, and that's just all. It's like no faith. And that goes back to the thing we talk about now is the modern no faith in institutions thing. And that includes the news, you know?
Right, yeah.
Nobody believes the news. No one believes news without agenda, and anything that you disagree with, you can hand wave away as lies, manipulation. You know, we
news.
Yeah,
fake news.
We make that joke, but it's a lie. Donald Trump gave us the
he just named it. He just gave us the word for
it.
We were all saying that it was bullshit anyway, but once he said it, we were like, that's
something. He coined a phrase that really screams to the present condition of media. And it will forever, especially as the deep fake AI stuff starts taking root. That's the real reason he wanted to get out, because he's like, I'm not have a fucking chatbot writing my wait, don't tell me scripts.
Wait, don't tell.
All right, what else we got?
Israel and Iran. Have you guys heard of this?
Have you heard of this?
I think I've heard of Iran. Is that a thing?
You heard this?
They're throwing hands, man. They slap boxing.
It sounds like it, but really what's happening is one's like shooting spitballs and the other one is deflecting those spitballs with anti-missile and drone strikes.
There's a big spat, Israel and Iran. If I wasn't so jaded, I'd be like, man, World War III really gonna kick off. But like, how many fucking times are we gonna do this rigmarole?
Yeah,
oh boy, care. you stole a cargo ship. Somebody's gonna steal the same cargo ship in like a month.
Yeah, I think I described this to somebody as like, if we didn't all understand that like war now has gone
it's just the ever-present reality.
Yeah, well, it's gone from like full mobilization of like societies to murder each other to drone striking people, and then when you want to make a point, you can go have the big shooting bombs at people, shooting missiles at people that looks really big on television. That's the whole point. Like,
I get a trebuchet, I get a garbage can full of electronics and a trebuchet, and I launch that shit over your border.
I would say it's almost what's a good word for a spectacle?
Ooh.
Yeah. Ooh.
We have a society with one of those.
We live in a society.
We live in a society here.
Okay, and then to bring it back as part of the kleptocracy conspiracy, the concerns over the Israel-Iran war caused a $500 billion crash in various cryptocurrencies.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
No, that was Peter Thiel.
Yeah, exactly.
He called up Iran and said, attack.
What you want to do is sell.
It almost, like, genuinely, there was this shitty part of me. And it's like, I almost on principle, I don't want to put my money in anything crypto because I think it's just ultimately skeevy and bad. Like, you know, the energy concerns of how, you know, things like that.
How about the vibe concerns?
Yeah, the vibe, right?
Which is the bottom.
You got enough bullshit going on with you. You can't be a crypto bro on top of this.
Oh God, yeah,
you
you're
will
right.
never get anything.
The point is, I saw like, man, huge drop, and it's like that means it's probably just a good time to buy because it's going to go right back up. But you know,
I say that when I see like Oreos are on sale, though, so that's not really saying much.
Oh boy! But the other thing I'm thinking of is like I could also just put all of that in like war stocks, essentially.
I can go buy a bond.
Like anybody that has anything to do related to the military-industrial complex.
Oh, what's this? BlackRock Inc. up 2.68.
Oh man,
I'm
how'd
not
that get
even
there?
bullshitting.
Oh boy,
oh man, oh that's great. Oh boy, the jokes write themselves, people.
Just like the checks. Ayo.
What's Lockheed Martin doing right now?
Let's not talk about them no more, right?
They up?
Up 7.78, even more than BlackRock.
There you go, man. There you go. There you go.
How's Boeing
Oh
doing?
man, what you do is that you buy. All right, guys, here's your financial advice that will not be relevant by the time this episode comes out. All right, buy Bitcoin. Buy Bitcoin. And when it goes back up, when it rallies again, you sell and then you buy all the war stocks you possibly can.
Unless nuclear war has started, and then sell
to the moon.
So stupid.
All right, next one.
Oh boy. Okay, we've gotten through most of like the geopolitics news and like that sort of shit. So now we got to get to the spooky woo woo news.
Spooky woo woo time with CMN.
What the fuck was that? No,
I don't know. It's cool though.
no, it was not.
Did you do a soundboard of a ghost? That was awesome.
No. Okay.
Are you a little ghost right now?
Are you like a little baby ghost boy?
Are you
Little
like
baby ghost boy?
Are you ghosting right now?
Are you like the Danny Phantom? Danny Phantom.
Dewey Phantom. Oh man, my life is crazy.
Can we get to the headlines?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. You guys are gonna love this. So as you all might have known, because we talked about it on the show, and really, as we already said, where else do you get your news anymore? But there was an eclipse.
Oh yeah, I saw that thing.
It was super cool. We did the Discord. We actually did a group ritual that was pretty fun. Good time was had by all.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Some other people saw an eclipse and thought, man, it is a good time to commit a heinous act of violence.
Oh.
Actually, time out. Some people saw an eclipse and thought, my eyes, I've become
my
blind.
eyes.
Me eyes, matey.
I don't want to get too far into the weeds on these, but woman shoots interstate drivers, says God told her to because of the eclipse.
Okay.
Duh.
Yeah, good for her.
God told you to do it. You got to do it.
Taylon Nichelle Celestine, 22, of Georgia, entered the highway 115
That's always fucking Georgia.
from the Alabama border in the Florida Panhandle. Within 5 miles, she fired into passing cars several times, spraying auto glass and grazing drivers' arms. She fired a second vehicle, hitting the driver in the neck. The driver was injured and treated in the hospital, so that's good that he didn't die. Apparently, she claimed that God told her to, and it's had something. I don't understand what it had to do with the eclipse. Like, God was like, now is the time, my soldier. Rise, rise.
It was God saying, now your powers will be activated by the eclipse.
Well, it only happens every 7 years or something, right?
If you think of in terms of globally, eclipses happen all the fucking time. Okay? You just happen to be in a spot where you could see it. And I think Georgia, I don't even think Georgia got a full eclipse either.
No, it did not.
You got like an 80, you got like a B- eclipse.
She would have killed more people if it was a full eclipse.
So it just got like a little dark, and she was like,
no,
she was like, ah.
It looks kind of dusty out.
It's dusty out here.
It crusty dusty.
Damn, son, ashy.
Much more tragic. Woman posted about apocalypse on social media in days leading up to murder-suicide of her husband, and her children.
Oh, well, that's absolutely
Woman
horrendous.
Stabbed her boyfriend to death in the Woodland Hills and pushed her children out of a moving vehicle on the 405 freeway.
Did she die as well? That murder-suicide,
it was murder-suicide, so I'm not sure how it said. I don't know how it said she ended her life, but this eclipse is the epitome of spiritual warfare. Get your protection on and your heart in the right place. The world is very obviously changing right now, and if you ever need to pick a side, this is the right time. The eclipse is spiritual warfare?
That's what I heard.
Tons of people have said this sort of shit. You saw, did MGT
the Marjorie
said something
Taylor
about
Greene,
it?
Said something like it was a sign from God of like the
earthquakes
end times,
and eclipse. It's the sign from the end times. I hope America's paying attention. Like, what? I hope America's
really
paying
weird.
attention to geology.
I know about rock, sedimentary, limestone.
Now, what side exactly? Is it like just good versus evil, the light side, the dark side?
Have you heard of the little game called Pokemon?
No.
Okay, so Pokemon, Ruby Sapphire.
Oh, okay.
There's these guys, right?
It's like gangs.
It's gang shit.
Gang.
Yeah, it's like red versus blue.
It's a little bloody crippy, you know what I'm saying?
Gang.
Was apparently a popular astrology influencer with more than 100,000 followers on X.
I thought you was about to say 100
You mean Twitter?
followers. I'm like, shit, we got more than that.
Ratioed.
She described herself as a divine healer and astrologer. Now, here's the thing, right? Quite often, the people that think of themselves as spiritual are people that are very prone to madness. And you can get some really wrong-headed ideas. I don't know what the core of her beliefs were. I don't know in what regard we could say that her psychology was influenced by this coming eclipse that led her to do these things. I just don't understand. Now, like, there's almost this vibe of like, oh man, end times are coming. I have to kill the people that I love so that they don't suffer or something like that. But I have a really hard time accepting that killing your children and someone you love is ever going to be the thing that will spare them any sort of suffering. Especially when,
that's why you're going to lose the spiritual warfare and you didn't pick the Sapphire side.
Yeah, you weren't
Team Magma.
Yeah, you should have been Team Magma. You didn't.
So now you lost. Seriously, that is a tragedy, and we
that's
called it when the eclipse was happening. We were like, "This. When do you think the crazy people doing crimes is going to start?"
The one slightly bright patch is that one of the children survived.
But Jesus.
I just can't imagine what would cause
someone
to think that this was the right thing to do. And I don't,
just being unwell and off the chain.
Yeah. And that's the thing is it's like, I don't think that her hokey spiritual beliefs led her to do this.
No, it's never like that. It's always nutty people getting into the occult. It's never, there are people who've made themselves crazy with the occult, but they tend to be like burnout, posting like big rants on Facebook, kind of crazy.
Now, there's the other thing. It said there was a verbal altercation that turned violent and ended in tragedy. That was the statement. So maybe this had nothing to do with you, and maybe we're jumping the gun. Maybe something crazy happened. She stabbed her boyfriend, realized that the kids were there, and she's like, I'm going to go to prison, and she just lost it.
Yeah, that's possible.
That would be even more tragic, but less spooky.
Well, but still, you see someone post about the eclipse being a time for spiritual warfare, and then the day of the eclipse, some shit like that happens. Come on.
Yeah, that's a good point.
All right, what else we got?
Oklahoma man arrested for allegedly throwing pipe bomb at Satanic Temple in Salem, Massachusetts. Also left a note saying, God told me to do it.
Man.
First it's the Baphomet. First you cut the head off the Baphomet. Now you throwing pipe bombs. It's like, that's,
look at this fucking topsy-turvy world we in. You remember when it was the Satanists burning down churches?
No, that never happened.
No, it didn't. They were all black metal bands, but it happened.
Sorry, I was more of like I was going like satanic panic, crazy bullshit, stupid.
No, I'm talking about Burzum.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
No, I can't. Burzum just killed a guy. I can't remember. Someone burned down. People burned down.
Is Burzum a Pokemon?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
It's what a Nazi evolves into.
Now it's good. Actually, this is an interesting counterbalance too, because now we got somebody who Jesus. Actually, even the first story, it was the eclipse, and then said God told me to do it. It's not the beliefs. It's just some people are fucking nuts. Don't go around shooting people.
Was this just a nut case? Like it wasn't like a member of it wasn't a failed politician or something like last time?
No, he wasn't running for office as far as I know.
Well, he will be next week.
Sean Patrick Palmer, 49, of Perkins, Oklahoma, was charged in a criminal complaint with using an explosive to cause damage to a building used in interstate or foreign commerce. Palmer was arrested this morning, and they will make an initial appearance in the West District of Oklahoma on Thursday. He will appear in federal court in Boston on a later date. They found a hair that they were able to trace back to him. So, man, forensic files, that shit. Nobody was hurt in the attempt, and it was like a single pipe bomb, basically, or like a firebomb type deal. No one was hurt. He just walked up there at like 4 a.m. on April 8th, and cameras. There's a picture of this guy just holding the lit explosive and throwing it over the fence. He's wearing a mask. It looks like he's wearing a mask and like some tactical gear and stuff like that. But like, so he's very
cool,
inconspicuous. Yeah. Very inconspicuous. The pipe bomb partially detonated, so like it didn't actually go off completely and caused minor fire and related damage to the Satanic Temple's exterior building. It's just one of those things, like, I would like to be like, oh, look what happens. This is just like the Baphomet thing, that these are Christians that are justifying violence against people that don't share their beliefs because they're fucking bastards and shitty things. And I think this is probably more of a case of like, this is a nut. This is somebody who's just like, this is not a broader trend of violence against Satanists or spooky woo-woo people.
Yeah, it sounds like a bad time.
It's just shitty.
Yeah.
But do you guys want to hear the 6-page handwritten note that was found in a flower bed adjacent to where the pipe bomb was discovered?
Oh,
which also seems like a bad idea. What if it caught on fire? What if it caught the note on fire? And now no one knows why he did it.
Yeah.
Now they think he did it over, like, I really like satin, and that almost sounds like Satan. So people gave me the wrong kind of pants, and now I'm mad about it.
He thought they weren't Satanist enough.
Here is the letter allegedly written by the accused. Dear Satanist, Elohim sent me 7 months ago to give you peaceful message to hope you repent. Period.
Okay.
You say no. Elohim now send me to smite Satan, and I happy to obey. Period. And Elohim want me to contact you to tell you repent. Period. Turn from sin. Period. Elohim no like this place and plan to destroy it. Period. Maybe Salem too. Question mark. Elohim send me to fight cry. No. You guys gotta look. Elohim send me to fight crybaby Satan.
No.
But want me to make hard effort so no one dies. Period. I obey.
Baby.
Period. He intentionally said that he had to. He was trying hard to make sure that nobody died.
Huh?
Is that it?
That's weird. Did you that is the apparent? Oh, also this was written on 6 pages, so he was writing huge.
Oh my god!
God knows how many crayons he went through. Holy fuck!
You can tell he's serious. The R's were forward.
A lot of them.
Okay,
I'm just saying. For whatever reason, I imagined the Ultimate Warrior reading that. I don't know why. That's why my brain went. But I'm just imagining like, Elohim sent me to tell you that I'm coming to take crybaby Satan down.
Ultimate Warrior AI voice.
Oh god, the poor grammar. It's in all caps, which I'm assuming is how it was written, and just like the weird punctuation. I mean, like I guess if you just say period every time, it's always weird. But like,
actually, no bullshit. It reminds me of the Joe Biden guy. Joe Biden. Elohim no like this place in a 2 month, 2 year have a heart attack. Repent.
It was
repent
just,
now.
Oh, also they've got more than the hair led them to find this guy, but then they looked and they've got purchasings of him buying like
he bought make your own pipe
needed.
bomb last month. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like he more than likely did it. I don't think this is a case of mistake.
At least he didn't want to kill anybody.
He said, God, it's like, I have to kill Satan, but not the people. Where it's like, at the same time, you threw a fucking explosive, dude. What do you think? Maybe he went at 4 a.m. because it's like nobody's going to be there.
Yeah, he was probably casing he said if he made a real effort, he was probably casing the place out and knew that no one was there and just threw the bomb.
Elohim no like this place and plan to destroy it. Maybe
can I get
sell
that on a
t-shirt?
Question mark. Yeah, maybe sell them too.
Maybe.
Now that's the problem. It's like you're going to destroy the entirety of Salem and no one's going to die. I don't know about that. I don't know about that, Paul.
I don't know about that,
I don't know about that, Tim.
Yeah, I don't think you're that guy, pal.
You're not that guy, bud.
You're not that guy, bud.
No, but like, yeah, it's wild. Like everything from the photo of this guy to the note to the way they caught him of like a single hair that got found. It's just, this guy doesn't need to be like roaming the streets because God forbid he gets some cojones and decides, oh, no, never mind. Elohim said I can kill people now. But like, Jesus Christ. I was really going to get on my soapbox and be like, yeah, see what's going to happen. First they'll destroy your statues. They'll throw things at your building and stuff like that, all because Jesus. But I think this guy's just a nut.
Yeah, no, he is not. That is almost undisputably an unwell person. Like the other things we can question, but that person is pretty much like they're a lost cause.
Okay, here's some quick ones where we don't really have much. Clarence Thomas is missing. Like he didn't show up.
Yeah, just gone.
Just gone when they made they refused to hear a case about liability with protesters that effectively means that in certain states, if you organize protest, you are liable if anything gets broken, if anyone's hurt, damaged, stuff like that, which basically just effectively ends protest. And this is what I'm talking about. We're like, no faith in institutions. You're going to just when you do stuff like this, you're going to have unlawful protests because every protest is now going to be unlawful. So you might as well just do the really fucked up shit. And then you're going to watch the military police response. It's going to be bad. I don't have a whole lot to say about it. Just dark times ahead. But Clarence Thomas just didn't show up. So he's also the oldest member on the court right now. So maybe the stairs are slick. Yeah, well,
hope he hits his head.
Guy. Like genuinely, fuck him.
Yeah, fuck Clarence Thomas. I don't have any sympathy for him.
No sympathy. In all likelihood, it's like, nah, we put him in a robot body so he can deliver out personal justice.
Yeah.
And he runs on money.
Hey, folks, quick addendum here. Clarence Thomas did return to the bench. He seems to be fine because we never get anything good like a dead Clarence Thomas.
O.J. Simpson died.
Fuck him.
Which is just,
fuck him.
I don't know.
He's a murderer. Fuck him.
I really do want to talk about this German art museum worker who hung his own painting in the gallery. How fucking awesome is that? You're going to just put your art up in the museum.
Yeah, nuts on the table. I think it's a great move. Magic as fuck.
Now, my question is, okay, you're working in the museum. I don't know if you're a guard or a janitor or you work at the tickets or what, but you're working there and you've got your own paintings and stuff like that. Do you build do you make a plaque? Do you have the plaque blend in with the rest of them? Do you figure out how
authenticity is key?
Yeah, as much as you possibly can, try to make it look like it actually belongs. Like you get the right kind of frames and stuff like that. I'm hoping that's what he did, but it seems like he only got it for about 8 hours before they noticed it. That's still pretty good.
I really want to know if it was the staff that realized it, or if there was just some prick that was just looked at it and went ugh, derivative garbage. How could you have this in your museum? And the guy's just standing there like, man, motherfucker, I worked all week on that.
He's just standing there oh man, that's really rough, dude.
Oh man.
I mean, that's what you would do if you hung your art up in a museum, right? You'd stick around and wait for someone to say something.
This was pretty good. All right. Okay. The employee considers himself an artist and most likely saw his role in the museum's installation team as a day job to support his true calling, which sounds very dismissive and a little shitty. Prick. What? Yeah, he is an artist. Doesn't consider himself.
Yeah, fuck you.
Yeah, you're a prick.
What? I consider you to be a jerk.
Exactly.
Yeah, I consider this to be a little
what
rude.
actually happened was, I'll say this. This is in the Emperor Norton sort of way. He called their bluff and did really well. He basically installed a canvas or a frame early in the morning. Security didn't think any of it because that was his job. That's what he did. And they saw it very early. So he got caught pretty quick. But they were the decision was made to keep the picture on display while the gallery was open and take it down after closing. All right, yeah, you might take it down and then everybody's going to be wondering what's going on. But instead, they kept it up. So he got a whole day on the books,
That's so sick.
All I can say is that we did not receive any positive feedback on the addition from visitors to the gallery. Well, I've got some positive feedback right now. More.
Do you have a picture of it?
They said they didn't want to encourage copycats or anything like that, and they fired the guy. But
did we get to see what it looked like?
Let's find this thing.
We don't have time to be looking for the piece, dude. We don't. Sorry. Hey,
what?
Did you hear me?
I heard you. Are we in that much of a rush? You can't it's not like you can't cut the damn.
We're already 20 minutes over.
God damn it. Okay. Fine. Well, I just thought that was a silly, goofy headline, and
yeah, that's really one of the best parrot lines we've gotten.
That's awesome.
There's I one day I will re-find this quote, and I've looked for it, and it's probably in something stupid, not something stupid, but it's probably in something really simple, and I just didn't think to look in there. But it was, I want to say it was Crowley talking about the idea of invisibility in magic, and it's quite simply, it's not that you render yourself invisible. Quite often what you'll find is that by walking past the guards with such confidence as you're supposed to be there, you'll just go right on by. They won't stop you. And then when they're called out on it later, they'll simply just say they couldn't have possibly seen anyone, because if they did, they would have stopped him. And that's kind of what this is, He just went in there, stuck the thing up, and let it go. And then they, rather than cause a scene, they let it ride. I mean, it did cost him his job.
You know what? He'll probably get some buzz about like his art and stuff. I'm sure he's on social media going, "Hey, I was the guy."
Shit's pretty punk.
Incredibly punk as shit.
Yeah.
Watch the art piece be like
it's just like a
really
meme.
It actually is derivative bullshit. It's like
it's a sonnet. It's like a sonnet.
Yeah. It's like a straight up like crispy ass fried like. The article writes it as though he was an aspiring artist because he's actually a D-bag.
It's something he traced over a DeviantArt image he found.
It's a fucking meme. He put a not that memes don't have artistic value, but he put it up in a museum. Like he's like, I did this.
Boy.
All right, we're done with the news then?
Yeah, that's fine.
Nobody knows it too.
The man had the gall to be like, we don't have time to look for it, and then went to go take a piss. What? Dickhead?
Hey, bladders are important.
If he wanted to just go take a piss, fine. Like, let me see if I can find the fucking art.
I'm back. Sorry for cutting the news short and shit. I would love to see the painting.
I'm sorry, I showed it to him while you were taking a piss.
I want to see the painting, though.
Well, you just, we don't have time.
you guys better stop. Come on. Post it, you little scamp.
Hold on. No, I'm getting it. I'm sorry.
You didn't even have it? You made that bet?
No,
you didn't even fucking get it?
I have it. I have it. I'm going to my damn...
Okay.
I'm getting... I gotta... Look, I'm on a computer where you gotta
it's
click
got tubes.
the file.
I gotta go to the fucking... I gotta go to the satellite.
You gotta click the fucking file. There we go.
That's not a file.
What is
it
that?
just says AVIF. What's an AVIF?
Really? Fuck,
oh, am I actually stupid?
Oh, it opened up. Okay, it's not bad.
It's neat, right?
Oh yeah, that's pretty cool.
It does kind of look like something like this would be like the picture that you have for like a news headline that's something like absent parents make dismissive children.
Yo, you are absolutely right.
Yeah.
That is exactly what it is. But I actually think this is really neat.
Hey man, you're really
I think it's cool.
One passing thought on art, tangentially magic, because it deals with ways of seeing, right?
Okay.
Alex Gray talked about with art that art and really looking at a piece was like meditation, and that you need like good 20 minutes, and even that's cutting it short. You need genuine time and focus to really pick up what a piece is about and what it's trying to say. Yeah. And I'm curious what this piece basically says. Like, if I was in a museum, especially, like if I was looking at this thing, this would feel like something that was worth my 20 minutes. Maybe I could get something out of it.
I hate to go off in this rabbit hole, but Alex Gray has this whole interview he gave where he talks about the pull of art, how it creates different spacing and the way people congregate around it.
When he talks about the Van Gogh with the skull.
Yep.
That's the same one I'm talking about.
You know what? Like, I'm not going to go off on it, 'cause I'm just going to tell our listeners, go listen to that. I'll even link it in the metadata.
All right. So, all in all, start a museum that is just empty walls and people can hang up whatever they want.
Yeah. Basically, if you have a place of business, let people rent space on your walls.
No, don't let them rent it. Just like let them put stuff up. Open your doors, listeners, and just ask the artists on the street to come in and hang stuff on your walls.
Keep your windows open at night.
You're a museum now.
Scream to the alleyways that you want their art. Give me your art.
That they stuff me full of your art, kind sir.
Give me all your art as fast as you can for free.
Some of us will never get our art in a museum for 8 minutes, let alone 8 hours. So, Godspeed, Emperor.
Godspeed, Emperor.
This episode has gone on longer than it was supposed to, and we're just going back and forth and saying things we don't mean. I wish I had something I could blame that on.
Is it
Wait a minute.
Is it trauma? Childhood trauma?
It's Mephistopheles in Segregate, right?
No. It's Steve Urkel on an Escalade.
No, you guys, it's Mickey Mouse in Retroactive Amnesia.
So Alvin and the Chipmunks and the Great Ape Escape.
All right, you've gone way too far. I don't even know what we're talking about anymore.
We're talking about Mercury in retrograde. Cue the Sturgill Simpson.
I was told by some fucking purist that the proper terminology is actually Mercury is retrograde, not in retrograde. So,
so Mercury's all old and shit. Stupid.
It's like a Nintendo Game Boy, though.
Stupid.
All right, but in all seriousness, you guys have heard the meme of Mercury retrograde. That's something that has like passed into just common talk and lexicon, right?
Right.
Like that's not even, it's a meme in itself, not just a spooky meme.
Yeah, it's Mercury retrograde, which means that like my laptop's gonna explode. My girlfriend's gonna break up with me. My rent check is gonna get lost in the mail. It's like, it's like all these little, mostly dealing with communication or technology, but there's gonna be hiccups, bumps in the road, shit going wrong. By and large, the modern consensus is like Mercury in retrograde means shit's going to go haywire. But it's also like Mercury is in retrograde multiple times in a year and usually for about a month, right? If you don't have at least like 2 bad months in a year, what's going on? But it just becomes very cliche and easy to be like Mercury's or like there's an old comic where it's like, hey, I made you this cupcake. I don't want that shit. Psh, Mercury retrograde. And it's like, you can't just say that whenever you're an asshole. And it's like, Mercury retrograde. That's the modern conception of it. But planets retrograde or in retrograde or whatever the fuck, that's a real astrological thing. And it means something. And there's, maybe let's peel back some of the onion skins and have a little looky-loo about what it actually means in a couple different astrological contexts. And this episode will be going out right as we're passing back from Mercury retrograde of April. So maybe you can look back on the month and say, is it the planet's fault that my toaster fried all my Pop-Tarts, or maybe is there something else going on there?
Oddly enough, Mercury being in retrograde is not that big a deal for most of history. I guess kind of like most things. Early on, planets being retrograde from an astrological standpoint was more of just another possible aspect of them. And it didn't even necessarily have a overall negative connotation. It was similar to what we call combust in astrology, where the planet is too close to the sun, so it supposedly negates the effects that it has in that area. And it's similar to that. In Hindu astrology, it's called Vakri Grahas, it's just a state. It means it's retrograde, and there's interesting and specific ways. Obviously, the sun and the moon can't go retrograde, but the other 5 planets, as well as the I'm not sure what the illusory planets, I believe is what they're referred to as, Rahu and Ketu, which are kind of like a lunar node type thing for those of you that know about nodes and Western astrology. Those 2 are always retrograde, but the other planets, when they go retrograde, they have a certain placement where they're at, and they will act in opposition to what that would normally be for their placement. Mercury ends up in like the 3rd house, so instead acts like the opposite of what it would normally do, or it would go to, say, the 5th house. Hang on, this is what that was. According to Sankita Nita, when Mars is retrograde, it results in the 3rd house based on where it's at. Mercury goes to the 4th, Jupiter goes to the 5th, Venus to the 7th, and Saturn to the 8th. It's just another aspect, and it didn't have any crushing effect, and it wasn't so specific, which I think is an overall thing in astrology these days. We just get way more invested on what the planet's location and
broad strokes.
Yeah.
We do broad strokes of like this. Mercury is a communication planet. All my communication problems are just like Mercury's in a bad house or in a bad spot for it, or it's retrograde, that sort of thing. I did say something kind of silly, but like maybe there's something to it, right? We are a society that is largely defined now by something called the interwebs, which is a huge interconnected information exchange and communication thing. And also it's technology. And Mercury is like the messenger god. He's the communicator. He's the interconnected thing. So it's like, maybe Mercury retrograde is such a big deal now because it rules us so much more. maybe back in the day when we were all just beating the hell out of each other with sticks, Mars retrograde was much worse.
Right. And short of like the typical kind of criticisms of astrology that it's like, oh, well, it's just confirmation bias, yada, yada, yada. And if nothing else, as a general practice, astrology has gotten, and not so much within astrologers, but in people, the laymen, people interested in astrology.
Pop astrology,
Right, yeah, they've just gotten way too invested in it. And I think that is the real origin of Mercury retrograde. Because in the 60s, apparently, there was a beginning of spike of the idea of Mercury retrograde being the sort of bad thing that once it happens, it gets all, everything gets fucked up.
Oh, no, everything's sticky.
Right. And oddly enough, in connection to what you were talking about, so according to Bazaar, Harper's Bazaar, this article I have on Mercury retrograde that somebody wrote, there was a rise in mentions of Mercury retrograde that coincided with the development of computers in the 1980s.
Hey, there's also something to be said about the notions of the self-fulfilling prophecy or the manifestation of the collective psychic phenomena. Once it's in people's heads more, of course it's going to, at the bare minimum, you're going to get more hits because more people know about it, so more people can point at it and say that's Mercury retrograde's fault. But then there's also maybe unconscious levels or in sort of cultural levels, those things are going to manifest more because now it's out in the aether of the collective unconscious, or however you'd want to describe it, or it's just in the culture like the cheese.
As much as I don't like defaulting to this sort of explanation either, it's sort of an egregoric idea, right?
That's kind of what I'm driving at.
Enough people start getting invested in this idea that this one planet going into retrograde, that goes into retrograde fairly often, leads to the bad times coming.
In a way too, because it happens so much, it's easy to point out because like I think Mars retrograde, for example, takes a lot longer to go from retrograde back and then vice versa.
Yeah, I think Mercury is one of the more common ones.
And he's fast. He's a fast-moving planet.
Yeah, he's a quick boy. This is a little bit that I just feel like I have to point out because it irks me. Mercury retrograde's recent history is intrinsically digital. Many astrologers have pointed to a video Taylor Swift did with MTV in 2014 to account for the sudden leap into the mainstream. Everything is going to be completely wrong and messed up and miscommunicated. Your phone will break, or you'll send a text message and it won't get to the person it's supposed to. Swift explained. MTV promoted the video on social media with the GIF flashing bright, glitchy colors behind a short looping clip of Swift saying, "Hella in retrograde."
What?
This is Harper's Bazaar says that it's Taylor Swift's fault that Mercury retrograde's a thing now.
Well,
she said Mercury retrograde's a thing on MTV 10 years ago.
Oh. So just a zeitgeist machine thing from T
Sure.
Swift. Okay.
Sure. Okay. Maybe. She got a lot of fans.
There's a weird level of like the witchiness of Taylor Swift coming back up because of that, right? Like you remember the fucking Christian people
or something.
I think she is, but you remember there was that shit about like casting spells in her fucking movie or whatever bullshit.
Oh yeah. Man. I guess she's one of the high maguses or whatever. She's just waiting for apotheosis, really.
No, she was on Tumblr in 2014 like everyone else.
Oh, okay. Fine.
Oh yeah. Well,
you know what? If you don't want to get down with the Taylor gore, hella retrograde.
Hey, you.
No, I wish I had
like
something.
your boyfriend.
Is that her? That is her, right? Yeah.
No, that's Avril Lavigne. You fucking fool.
I know.
You fool.
The problem is, it's just that thing of like, I don't really want to talk about Taylor Swift.
No, I don't either. I felt like obligated to say that Taylor Swift as a global phenomena is so big that people would imply that Mercury retrograde came from her. Because I don't believe that for a second. I don't think that she's the source.
That's almost the problem too. It's like, well, she's got a huge fan base, but it was also Taylor Swift 10 years ago.
She has a huge fan base, so that means that people would point at it because they know about it because she's everywhere.
Yeah. But again, it was also 10 years ago, and she was. So yeah, that's funny.
It is genuinely interesting to see this as like one of the few modern astrology developments, right? And it's probably not one that I'd say is a positive overall to astrology as a practice, but it is interesting to see it develop.
Well, I think it's very much that, like, with astrology as part of the ongoing occult revival, there's like astrology is becoming more notable and commonplace amongst people that are not even spooky woo-woos. In the same way that, like, I think everybody knows the jokes now of, like, Scorpios are just like the devil sign. They're just the awful people. That sort of thing, which is not true. Scorpio.
Or I do something. Oh, I did one thing, then I did another thing. I'm such a Gemini.
Yeah, that sort of thing. By virtue of this information becoming more prevalent to everybody, like, you're going to get these basically unnuanced and very wrong-headed sort of things that are going to enter popular consciousness, because that's just the consequence of the door being opened for more people. You know what I mean? It's that thing of, like, when people talk with chaos magic, for example, when people talk about, it's like, you make a sigil and then you jerk off to it. Yeah, but actually, no, there is a lot more to it. If you just make a squiggle and then you jerk off over it, the likelihood of it actually working it's bad, because jerking off, or just a quick cranking your hog is usually not actually going to get you the level of gnosis required to fire off a sigil, unless, like, I don't know how, maybe you just have like really intense orgasms and they just blight your mind immediately. Or and then a lot of times
I do no fap and I only jerk off for sigils.
Yeah, or even then, where
it's like, I have to put on the helmet and everything to make sure I don't black out.
God, like that's, but it's that sort of stuff, or that most people, if you say something about tantric anything, they just think you mean like sex for a really long time without coming, and it's like that is not what tantra means. But by virtue of people who actually know what they're talking about having that information available so that they can learn, you're going to get that information spreading out to people who have no idea what the fuck they're talking about. And then they're going to get on a podcast.
Too easy.
But that's just the diffusion of information. It's like, so it's very much a case of, you got to take the good with the bad.
Then you have Shaboopy.
I don't get, you casting a spell?
He tried.
Shaboopy. And whatever.
What I'm curious about more than anything is, as far as Mercury retrograde as a catch-all, fuck up everything problem, what do you think would be a better thing to blame all of this on?
Peter Thiel presented a somewhat truncated idea about the interactions of the placement of the position of the Earth relative to the sun and then the moon. As the moon being the closest orbiting celestial body, and the sun being like obviously the most powerful, and presenting those two as like, if you just really look at where the sun and the moon are, you would easily be able to cobble together a system that explained the sort of ebb and flow of energies and moods throughout the year. And it's like, and you could do away with like the other, the other 15 things that we throw on with astrology. And I thought that was kind of neat. I don't necessarily agree with it, but it's interesting.
One of my favorite people, the guy we don't talk about enough on the show, Arthur Young, right?
Oh,
He wrote a paper on astrology that kind of gave a similar idea. He essentially said that, like, it's pretty obvious that the amount of gravitational force that the smaller planets exert on us is obviously negligible, but what they are great at is being a more precise calculator of where the larger planets are in relation to us. So his argument was kind of like the idea that it's part of both a cyclical thing, but it also has to do with the influence of much larger bodies, and the solar system placement of astrology just being the smaller dials on the larger dial.
Oh yeah. Okay, that's a neat one. I'm trying to think of something funny to say about it. It's like, I don't know. It's like, maybe it's like the zombie fungus that's messing up the cicadas. Like, maybe there's just some spores that go around every couple of months. I don't know. Like, you know what? Here's one. It's not even a joke. You could also possibly explain it by, besides the self-fulfilling prophecy or anything else like that, you could explain it as like the periods of ebb and flow and like burnout, right? Where it's like, things are gonna go all right for a little bit, and you're gonna work, you can be working, you're gonna be trying to maintain and scratch and survive, and you do all this stuff, and then because you haven't been taking care of yourself, you're gonna get frazzled, wires are going to fray, and then some bad shit's going to happen, and you're going to be like, oh God, it's the planets, rather than like, nah, it's just your inability to pick up on the rhythm of your life and your year, that it tends to be like, you're going to have a couple good days, you're going to have a couple bad days. You're going to have a month of like some really good shit, and then possibly a month of like some awful shit. But even that's like, ultimately, we are living in a world of where the bottom can fall out underneath you at any moment. You could win the lottery and then get hit by a bus. You could meet the love of your life, and then you could have your arm caught in a wood chipper. You know, these things can happen in this. Arguably, if you're really unlucky, those can happen in the same day.
Yeah,
so
and it's hard
Mercury
retrograde.
Yeah, it's hard.
So then you're going to call the police, and then they're going to shoot you. I'm kidding. The police will shoot you regardless of what the planets are doing.
Beyond that, does anybody have any? If you are going in the idea of Mercury retrograde, does anybody have any helpful advice for maintaining during these periods?
Duck and weave, Bobby Brown. That's all I gotta say.
If you can dodge a planet, you can dodge a ball.
When life gives you lemons, you know what? Figure out a way to use some lemons, maybe.
I think, to circle back to the beginning of our thing, if you believe that Mercury retrograde is a real thing, you should spend your Mercury retrograde period like begging Mercury to chill.
Placating Mercury. Yeah, you placate Hermes, I suppose.
Placate Mercury and
drink some
sign
Mercury.
up for the Patreon for the real answer.
I know in a lot of the Eastern traditions, there are gods that are explicitly mentioned as being good to alleviate bad astrological placements that are in your chart or that are going on at the time. So that's neat. I would say that anytime you feel like you're having communication issues, the biggest thing you can do is be impeccable. Know what you are trying to say and say it in the most direct and concise way that you can. It isn't always the nicest way, but it's like, at the very least, you not dance around or mince words. Just simply say, hey, we don't have time for this.
All right. And with that,
don't be passive aggressive at all.
Oh my God.
And hint at somebody.
All right. And with that, I think that's enough Mercury retrograde, because I don't know what to say anyway. Mercury retrograde.
Mercury retrograde.
That leads us to our palate cleanser.
How goes the work?
You go first.
You want me to go first? I don't know. Things are going all right, I guess. It's like I haven't had any big. Well, actually, no. I forgot the fucking eclipse working. Yeah, so the eclipse working. I'll give you guys the broad strokes, right? There's this comic from the 90s called Psyhawk.
Psyhawk?
Psyhawk, yeah. Or it's called. Sorry, let me read. It's called Psyforce. But it's about a gang of like X-Men-y runaway kids that all have superpowers, but they can like link up and do like a Captain Planet thing that creates this dude called Psyhawk.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And it's like, it takes all of their powers and then it magnifies them to the nth degree. So like, if one of them could shoot like a little bit of a fireball, he's got like flamethrower arms now, that sort of thing. And they even like, the cast of the team changes over time, so Psyhawk's powers change because it was the eclipse and it was the feast of the writing of the Book of the Law. I was like, Hawk, Horus, all right, and we did this thing called the Psy-Horus, yeah, where it was the idea we were all going to do these rituals and sort of empower this tap into that thelemic current of Horus, the Hawk-headed Lord of the Aeon, but also like goofy pop magic end of it, like we're all forming up the Psyhawk sort of thing, and it was a lot of fun.
Up the Psyhawk.
Yeah, it was a lot of it was fun just knowing other people were doing it. People were posting photos. Like I took the comic book logo and modified it so it was a little more Egyptian. It just sent it out, and then like it's great. You know, you draw that up, and I put it on my little altar that I had set up, and then other people were like, "Here you go. All right, I did the same. We're doing this and this," and then I got some interesting results there because I was very petty and somebody really, really got under my skin. And then that was the first day. And then they basically disappeared for like 5 days in total before I saw them again. So it's like I didn't like,
skin,
they just got the hell away from me, which is what I wanted. You know, I'm not even, I've let it go now. But it was realizing like it was just like too coincident. And then somebody who was a nuisance for me in my workplace for a while finally, and I didn't do anything unless you believe in spooky nonsense, you know. But the trash took itself out. So that was fun.
The problem was resolved by itself.
Yeah. So that was cool. I don't know if anybody else got any big wins, but the entire stated intent was giving people the inner resolve to be able to stand and face the obstacles of, as I said at the beginning, the price of existence is eternal warfare. So it was me trying to create a psychic amalgamation that would help all of us stand firm in that battle, you know? And I got some very immediate shows of like, hey, that's how it goes. But I think overall it's helped. It's helped.
Yeah.
Well, nice.
I thought it was pretty cool. I thought it was a sick thing to do as a group, and it was fun to do something as a group. And we haven't done anything major together since the serious thing last year.
Yeah.
And granted, this wasn't really that major, but you know,
it was
3 days of ritual that brought about
Yeah.
results for I think most of us. People didn't talk expressly about a whole lot of what we got, but everyone I talked to in private a little bit has mentioned they got stuff.
Well, because I know even in the Discord itself, I mentioned something that was like, well, this one thing happened that I'm not going to talk about, and I'm not talking about it now. But then similar stuff where some other people were like, this thing happened, but I really need to keep it close to my chest right now. But, you know.
Everyone's penis grew at least 3 inches.
At least 3.
And it was very shocking for the women.
When he said, I'm going to hold it close to my chest, he meant that's how long it's gotten.
That's how I have to hold it now.
Yeah, that's where I have to put it. I got to put it in. It's in like a fucking sling now. People think I'm carrying a baby around. We're fucking gross. We're the worst podcast ever.
No, it's not us.
Is this the planet's fault?
Yes, it's Mercury Retrograde.
Is that Mercury or Mercedes? Here we go.
Yeah, is that Mercedes and retro video games?
Percocets and Gamergate, man.
And with that, this has been Chaos Magic News, the only podcast being affected by Mercury going the normal way.
As always, if you would like to blame your problems on gigantic, overwhelming cosmic forces, you could start by going to chaosmagicnews.com, where we'll have links to the pod, links to our prolific interview series.
Oh yeah, and we just keep rolling them out this year.
And yeah, we're doing great. You got some new ones coming down the pipeline next week. It's gonna be great. We're finally at this point where it's like exciting people are really just coming out of the woodwork.
Yeah, none of those lame previous people.
And none of those new, other
exciting, better people
that we are thinking dorks and don't want to. We never gonna talk to you again.
And if I offend anyone, simply blame it on the
Mephistopheles in Silverwade.
It's Silver Suede. And if you don't like that, you could always go over to the social medias and just find some dank ass memes. You know, we got to keep that algorithm happy to trick you into listening to this podcast, which you already have.
Gotcha.
All of those are at Chaos Magic News if you're interested. We also, as we have said before, have a Patreon.
By joining, you will become immediately initiated into the Minnesota OTO Voodoo. That's right, the holy lineage of the Big Tent.
You might see some taint. Who knows?
It's only $5 a month, and it'll get you our exclusive Patreon bonus content. We're doing like 2 a month. We just recently put up one on the 09A, and then another look at the Satyrian Chi Ball Mastery book, which was a lot of fun.
You don't want to miss that, folks. That really will be able to manifest your next wildest dream without any repercussion.
If that wildest dream involves, imagining a ball of energy and or saying funny nonsense words. But the other bonus you get from being on our Patreon is you get added to the list of names that we read at the end of every episode. So with that, thank you, Obsbleck. Thank you, Andrea WK. Thank you, Pope Loki Sater, the 23rd LLC. Thank you, Local. Thank you, Liz. Thank you, Cios. Thank you, Alexander. Thank you, Coco. Thank you, Curse T. Thank you, Fyodor. Thank you, Acolyte 1 of the Ice Magic Meditation Society. Thank you, Venus Christ. Thank you, Tangy Darling. Thank you, The Bearded Vegan. Thank you, Sylv. Thank you, Michael Tremov. Thank you, CC. We still, yeah. Thank you, CC.
CC, yeah, cool. I remember that.
So thank you all. You make this not only worth it, but you make it a joy.
And
Heck yeah.
Thank you
And
for
also,
listening, guys.
Yeah, thank you for listening.
I thought you were gonna finish your thought there.
That was it.
All right, guys.
Would anyone like the last word?
No.
Jesus Christ is my.
No. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. We will see you next time.
Bye.
He was this big.
It ain't so. I will not go. Pull my pants down. Stuck in my. No, I just can't finish it.
Okay, we start recording.
Man, okay.